In this session, we will take a look at ethics in IT-configured societies and the properties of IT-configured societies. This will be a chapter where we discuss many issues about IT configured societies briefly. We will just talk about them a bit, but you will see the details in the next chapters. Let's start with some facts, and this is the amount of advertisement expenditures, advertisement in different platforms. And as we see here, as of 2017, digital advertisement has surpassed television advertisements, and it is increasing dramatically, of course. As you see, the trend is like this, you see, and I expect here to drop as well. Okay, televisions are still important, but the advertisements are more directed or more published on digital media now. And you see that newspapers are already, let's say, on the falling edge as of 2000. It's just decreasing and decreasing here. And when we take a look at the online advertisements here as their posts and engagement, how they reach the target audience here, as you see, the most of them are about fashion and beauty products, as you see those advertisements, and the other ones are coming afterwards. As you see, these are the ratios. These are the most let's say common posts by industry and the online advertisements. And when we take a look at how we get the news, television is still dominant here, but we see that online news is on the rise. As of 2016, 46% is getting their information on television. Now it dropped to 44%, as you see, and you see an increase here in online news. But of course, it depends on how we get the news as well. Do we read the news, watch the news, or listen to news? So again, people prefer different platforms for that. When we read the news, when people read the news, they usually prefer getting it from online because it's more comfortable, I guess. That's why the comfort is the issue here. So the younger people, about 67% of them prefer online news to read them, and the older adults still prefer newspapers more, maybe. And as we compare television and online news here, now again comfort issue comes into consideration. So you see the dominance here of television in those news that we watch. And if we consider listening to news, which I agree, I also myself prefer radio here. It's dominant, as you see, within all age groups, because you can multitask while you listen to news. No wonder. So we can say that these mediums, this is my opinion by the way, but I think it's obvious, the television and radio will still prevail in future too, in close future as well. The thing is, here, okay, since it is dropping, but we will have the digital here and television here, and the radio here. It's not here, located here, but we might expect a drop in them, these ones maybe. And outdoor advertisement will keep constant because we go out anyway. But we see that there will be still advertisements, or there will be some market of television and radio as well as digital platforms. We can predict that, I think. Trust is another issue here. How much do you trust the following following news sources about journalists during the pandemic? They asked this, and the outcomes of the questions are pretty interesting. I mean, people still believe what they see on the news more than what they see on the social media. Like as you see, they don't. Yes, it is dominating. You get the news from there, but you do not believe it, or you do not trust it as well. So it's another interesting issue that should be taken into consideration. When you use more traditional platform for news, it is somehow more dependable. We see that as we look at people's behaviors. Okay, when we think about networking as well as the other technical advancements, it has some strengths and some drawbacks. It's normal. I mean, we all have some positive sides and negative sides, because we shouldn't consider networking as a tool like this, like it serves one purpose. It can hurt yourself too. That's what I mean here. So we need to evaluate those pros and cons efficiently together. When we talk about IT-configured societies, let's start with some definitions. What do we mean by an information society? An information society is briefly a society where information technology is a critical part of its infrastructure. But be careful, we do not say that it determines the society as directly, because it would be technical determinism. But information technology in this society is shaped by the society, and it also shapes the society here. This is what we mean. We shouldn't forget about this co-shaping scheme between the technology and society and the socio-technical systems perspective. We shouldn't forget about it. And as we see the technology as the instrumentation of human action, maybe it would make sense. It would not be so bad. Our actions result in some consequences, and our own actions that we're familiar with. We know what we can do, in fact, as ourselves. We can throw a 10 pounds object. We can't fly, we know this. We can't climb a wall, a smooth wall, or we can't see through the walls, for example. It's impossible. We know the capabilities of our own actions. But when they are instrumented with technology, what we haven't done before, what we couldn't do before, becomes possible. Yeah, with just one switch, you can light a whole building, for example. Or when you pull a gun trigger, you can kill a being who is 300 meters away. Or phone buttons, you can connect to people on the other side of the world. Airplanes, you can fly now. Elevators, you can go up easily. Or X-ray devices, you can see through the your skin and your vital organs. It's possible. So they are instrumented with technology. Our actions are instrumented with technology. That's what we discuss here. So we can say that those technological changes affect what we're able to do as well, and we do them. So it's possible. Okay, this mobility. So you cannot see, but you wear eyeglasses for vision, or you cannot live under uncomfortable air conditions. So You use thermostats for fixing temperature for healthier living conditions. It's possible. It's all possible with technology. And these are somewhat comprehensible, and we can also do some actions not even comprehensible before with the, for example, watching TV. What is this? I mean, if you mention about this in, for example, 19th century, it would be absurd. I mean, because it doesn't have a meaning. It is the same for information technology as well. What is spamming? Or I search through the web, or I blog. What do we mean by this? I mean, they were even incomprehensible before, but we can do that with technology, instrumentated by technology. IT instrumentation appears both on collective level and individual level. If you mean by, what we mean by collective here, like some systems, IT systems that seek a purpose, like performance monitoring at the companies, for example, or individual levels, the devices we use, whatever. And IT instrumentation, as we just discussed, results in advanced human actions. And when I think it would not be wrong to make this analogy, which has been underlined in the textbook. When we consider humans are agents of actions here, it is similar to humans wearing a technological suit like John Stark here. It's just an example. Normally, what he can do is limited, but when you wear that technological suit, now you become a superhero or something. It's something similar here. It's not wrong to say that, make this analogy. You are still the agents of these actions, but contribution of instrumentation on humans' actions result in quite variety, or I mean, what you can do is increased dramatically with the help of instrumentation. There are also some criticisms against this approach. The first one is coming from another theory, which is called actor network theory. You can look at this in detail in the textbook, where network actants are both computer programs and human, and there is no privilege on humans here, like they are assumed as equal. Here what we say here is humans are the agents of actions, and this is what we do is wearing a suit here. We're still in the dominant people here, or the humans. Here in this theory, they're just equal to each other. Like it's another approach. And another criticism is what about the autonomy that given to robots or artificial intelligence programs? Can they end up in moral agents as well, since we have no privilege here on humans, and we assume that some artificial intelligence devices can act on their own? They can be actants as well. Can it lead to moral bots and moral programs, resulting in maybe an uncontrollable world or something that has been discussed in several science fiction novels and movies, for example? Is it possible? What do you say about this? Maybe pause a moment and think about it, whether they hold or not. I mean, you can pause the video and think about it now. In fact, both criticisms are bordering technical determinism that we discussed in the previous session, because the level of autonomy that we choose or that we decide is in fact a human choice. So we shouldn't directly fall into trap of this is the only way that can happen, or technology is enforcing something for us. Yes, it is helping us, but also it is people's choice as well to have this level of autonomy. So if we consider humans as like cyborgs, maybe what do we mean by a cyborg here? A human technology combination. Suppose that you have replacement joints, or you have a heart monitor device within you, or you use some mind altering drugs. It means that you're getting entwined with technology, intertwined with technology. Your life becomes integrated with technology. And even if you don't consider with your bodies, what we use here is electricity, we rely on medicine, and we rely on industrial agriculture as well. Eventually or indirectly, we are living in a life intertwined with technology already. We can say that. And when we look at the World Wide Web as whole, when we look at the attributes of the web, it is decentralized. These are the most important properties of the World Wide Web. It has unique addresses, and it is based on the internet, or lots of different devices with different operating systems use this medium. Okay, we will look at the benefits and harm of such a medium or such a platform. For example, as benefit, just the direct ones, we will discuss it in detail in the next chapters as well. It is hard to oppress freedom of speech here. I mean, because it's impossible to shut it down as whole. And of course, harm is coming together with the benefits. Cyberbullying is easier here, and trolling, for example, again, an easier issue that we can discuss them later, or you already know. How do we use the web? For example, shopping, online shopping. Online shopping is becoming popular year by year, especially in the last decade, as you see the trend here. But it has increased dramatically with the pandemic. It doubled approximately. I heard this from a few of my friends who are into e-commerce, who are delivering e-commerce products, and they confirmed that their business has almost doubled in the last 6 months or something, which is quite significant. We can see it from Amazon shares, and you can read it from the popular e-commerce companies as well. We also socialize on the World Wide Web. There are lots of social media platforms, but some of them are quite dominant, like Facebook and YouTube, and I think WhatsApp belongs to Facebook as well. As you see, they are very, very, very popular here. The most dominant platforms, as we see, and you see here Instagram as well as one of them. As you look at the populations of some large countries here, you see Facebook's number of users are almost like 2.5 billion users, almost the same as the total population of China and India, which is crazy, I think. You see the penetration of the social media into the world, it's becoming more and more, in fact. We also contribute and blog. We contribute to web as well as the end users. For example, Wikipedia is supported by the people who contribute voluntarily. There are more than 6.7 million articles in English by this year, and there are also 362,000 articles in Turkish again by this year, which results in 54 million articles in total in all languages. So we can say that Wikipedia is a very dominant information source here. But the credibility or the reliability or these information, of course, can be questionable. We can discuss about it in advance too. We can discuss about it in a few moments as well. Okay. We also learn on the internet. We learn many things from the internet. As if you refer to our last session, I guess most of the developers and business, like maybe 60% of them say that they learned by themselves and from the internet usually. So it's a very dominant platform for learning new things as well, as we do now. Because of the pandemic, we're forced to do this, but what we're doing is a version of online learning as well. But before pandemic, the well-known institutions were using online platform for knowledge sharing or teaching as well, like the MIT Open Courseware program, where there are 2,500 courses online from the very well-known professors in their field, which is remarkable, and like more than 200 universities collaborating worldwide here. It's creating an independent learning platform. For example, if you want to learn something about logic design course, for example, digital design course, you can learn it from the top researchers or top professors in their field from the top universities with online courses. There are also several open and also paid learning management platforms like Coursera and other learning platforms, and there are also open universities as well online. We also explore our roots on the web, which has not been easy before. Like the United States of America has provided access to 50 million historical records online, which helps people to explore their roots and reach the historical records. We also have a similar application here in Turkey as well, we also can query about our family lines as well in Turkey with this application from e-government application. The internet, the World Wide Web, is also used for humanitarian incentives as well, to help people to gather support for something like the Change.org. It's a very popular platform to make your voice heard, and I love this particular site as well, which creates amazing music. You can check, and they are doing it for the nature, play for the nature, sing for the nature, which is very nice. And there are lots and lots of more platforms for this type of humanitarian incentives, and the World Wide Web is providing a medium or providing a structure for this purposes as well. And gaming, gaming has been first popular in 80s, but no one could guess that it could reach this much of interest over the world, where it became a professional interest now. The PC banks, some kids teens are spending 10 hours per day playing games to turn professional players into gold farmers, where their typical work time is like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they can earn like $3,000 per month. It seems like a legitimate income source now. and like they farm. I mean, they play for some in-game benefits, and then they sell them on the internet because there is demand for that. There is also esports part of it, where it became a professional type of sports, esports it's called, where people make contracts like footballers, volleyballers, basketballers, and teams compete each other in worldwide tournaments. As you see, the players of most popular games here, some of them reaching around 10 million players, which is quite significant, like peak players. At the same time, we also have several leagues in Turkey as well, esports league, and I think it's becoming more popular year by year. And it is also I mean, the people also gain money by just publishing or just broadcasting their plays on the internet, like maybe Richard Blevins is one of the most popular ones of them, which he has like 24 million subscribers as of 2020, and he is just earning money by streaming his gameplays on the internet, and using these streamers are using usually YouTube and Twitch platforms, which makes a great deal of income, of course. His net worth is, this particular person's net worth is like 25 million, it's called, and this is his income here, which is crazy. Like he's earning lots of money per month just playing video games, as we see, because okay, we couldn't even dream about this in I mean 90s or something. Maybe it would look like a science fiction movie for us, but today it became more than those science fiction movies what we turned so far. If we project the future about this in 15 years or 20 years later, I can see something comparable to popular sports now. In esports can be comparable to real sports, maybe some of them could be integrated into Olympics. I don't know really, but it is open for discussion. There are also Turkish players as well. Turkey is not away from this. Here we see one of the popular Turkish players in on the stage, and he just made a deal with an international team with a 3 years contract. Here what you see here is like maybe a great amount of money. If you divide it by 3, you see their professional contracts, and they do it like a job. Of course, this type of jobs are, I mean, in football, for example, you can play until maybe age of 35 or maybe 36, and then you can become a manager or maybe journalist or something. But here, I think the most efficient ages range from 16 to maybe 23 or something. They are called veteran players. Around this age, they leave the business and then they become some coaches or something. Pretty interesting issue as well. And there are lots of world organizations here. There are lots of professional teams in esports business, and typical salary of pro gamers can range from I mean $1,000 to $5,000. Typical ones, we say, national ones. The international stars, of course, earn much more than that, and they, as we discussed, they get lots of money for that. Okay, and if we go ahead with the other topics on the World Wide Web, internet, censorship is another issue, because it's a platform where where we spread information and promote businesses. Too much government control on it or too little? This is an open discussion as well. We will discuss it more in chapter 6, hopefully. Filtering is rapidly increasing. Internet is totally inaccessible at Burma, Cuba, and North Korea, for example, and Saudi Arabia strict control blocking sites. China settles with all ISPs, because they're doing local filtering and they see in our world in their searches. And Western nations have different standards. For example, Germany forbid neo-Nazi propaganda strictly, but in United States there is too much ease on political satire, and especially about pornography as well. So different countries apply different procedures about censorship. In history, it's not something new. Most censorship is done by governments and religious institutions. Even goes back to Galilei. It's complicated with the printed press. Not surprisingly, because the word spread easily. Even if you shut down the person, the ideas can be spread by the text and books. There are two types of censorships. One of them is the direct censorship, government monopolization. Maybe it can be addressed to the procedures applied by former Soviet Union, like pre-publication review for national concerns and concerns about ruler reputation. Before anything gets published, it is first checked whether it hurts national security or something. And they do it by licensing and registration. So you need to have a license and register your channel, or like radio or TV or something. It is for controlling media with limited bandwidth, for example, radio and TV broadcasts. That's why they need to be licensed, and they will be they will be subject to pre-publication review as well. And this was direct censorship, but self-censorship is what you do yourself, just to have good relations with government officials. Suppose that you do this, and for example, you shift mature content on late hours, and you label some sites like I agree I'm at least 18 years old, something on the web. At least you do this for taking some measures yourself in order to not get yourself in trouble. That's the idea. Now, it is obvious that internet is posing some challenges to censorship because of these properties, as we list here. Because it's a many-to-many communication platform, it is pretty harder to shut down. If you shut down a point and it can broadcast, it can be spread from another point, whatever. It is dynamic. Millions of computers or devices, let's say, maybe it's more explained, devices enter the network, and it is huge, impossible to track as whole. You can control some domains, but you cannot track as whole. And you can take some country measures within a country, but it is a global platform. What about the broadcasts outside the country? Again, you will be vulnerable. And one of the most crucial or most remarkable problems of the internet is it is hard to distinguish a child from an adult on the internet as well. It's almost impossible because you cannot know so far, but it's an open area for research, and it is one of the most significant problems about censorship as well. Let's take a look at the ethical analysis of censorship due to Immanuel Kant. These are taken from the text, by the way. It's not my opinion. You should have courage to your own reason. So it's wrong by Kant. And John Stuart Mill also says that it is wrong and argues that censorship does this for, let's say, bad things here. Like it silences the voice of truth, if it is true. It silences a degree of truth because nothing can be completely true or erroneous. We need to hear. And he argues that whole truth can be only tested with the clash of ideas. And he also analyzes that an opinion gets tested in a free and open discourse is more likely to have a vital effect on the character and conduct. rather than some dogmas and some, let's say, traditions that has been addressed to you. You eventually believe it, or you believe something more naturally if you discuss it in an open platform. He argues about this. George Stuart Mill also argues that lack of government censorship can also lead to harm as well. So here he introduces the principle of harm. The only ground on which the intervention is justified is to prevent harm to others. The individual's own good is not a sufficient condition. Okay, don't watch this because you can get hurt about it. No, it should cause harm to other people. I mean, your harm is not a concern. So there should be a balance here, and government needs to take step on the required moments. This is John Stuart Mill's idea or approach.